I think a good place to start these clips would be to give everyone some idea where we are with the introduction of the Act. The Act was signed into law on the 3rd of October by our President, and that means it is law now, but it's actually not operational. The Act will only become operational after on a date that is going to be promulgated in the Government Gazette at some time in the future. And I'm not sure when that is going to be, but I've got a fair idea that it's not going to be in the very near future. The regulations set out how the Act is going to be implemented, and they fill in the gaps that are left by the Act. Before the regulations can be implemented, they have to be put out for comment, and there has to be a 30-day period during which the public are entitled to give their input. And after that period, obviously that input has to be assessed, and the regulations might change as a result of that. And that's not the only reason why I think there's going to be a delay in the implementation of the Act.
If one looks at the definition of a property practitioner in the Act, I can almost categorize them as 5 different categories of people. Now at the moment, if memory serves me correctly, I think I read or saw somewhere that we've got about 11 or 12,000 registered estate agents in South Africa at the moment. And that's just estate agents who are currently who are currently affected by the Estate Agency Affairs Act, which is going to be replaced once the Property Practitioners Act becomes or commences, as Dion says, and we don't know when that's going to be. But here we have, for example, the first clause says anybody who, for the acquisition of gain, so in other words, anybody whose job it is, whose work it is for the acquisition of gain and for payment or for reward, does any of the following: anybody who auctions or sells property or rents out the properties. So that's your normal traditional estate agent. There's also anybody that basically gets involved in this type of work for the selling of businesses, not just the sale of immovable property. Then it's also people that actually collect any levies or rental on behalf of other people and you get paid for this. So your collecting agents are going to be involved. In other words, your managing agents are now also going to be required to have FFCs or Fidelity Fund certificates. Then we also have anybody who is involved in the financing of a transaction, excluding people that are already under the Financial Services Board. But here the Act specifically refers to your mortgage bond originators and your bridging financiers. So anybody who does mortgage bond origination, so in other words your consultants that help people to get bonds, and anybody who does bridging finance, in other words where you basically get an advance of your sale proceeds during the transfer process, or estate agents who want to have collect an advance on their commission during the process of a transfer. Anybody who does that is also going to now be subject to this Act. And then lastly, also homeowners associations. And so any of these people that do this kind of work for gain are now going to be included under the Act. And that means we're probably going to see the membership of this PPRA grow 2, 3, maybe even 4-fold. Which means there's going to be many, many more thousands of applications for Fidelity Fund certificates and for memberships, which the PPRA has to handle. And Dion, I don't quite know how they're going to handle this, because even at the moment, what we're seeing already is that the Estate Agency Affairs Board is really battling to keep up with the current workload. So that means they're going to obviously have to appoint more people, there's going to have to be training, and I don't see that happening anytime soon. So I'm of the belief that we probably might see this Act commencing well into the middle or even at the end of next year, only if we're lucky, given all the admin that has to still be done, all the admin that has to still be taken care of.
I agree, and that is going to be exacerbated by the fact that the new Act actually sets deadlines for the Property Practitioners Regulatory Authority to issue the Fidelity Fund certificates. They have to be issued within a period of 30 working days after they've been applied for. Otherwise, there's a deeming provision that the Fidelity Fund certificates have been deemed to have been approved, and then the PPRA is going to have to just issue these almost blindly. And I don't think that's going to be a very good situation for the industry. So they're going to have to get their act together to make sure that they can meet the demand for the Fidelity Fund certificates when they are applied for, and that they can be properly processed and only issued when they are intended to be issued.